further thinking about, the right of the government not only to kill people, but to incarcerate people, to take away your freedom. And I got thinking about it, and the truth of the matter is, if we were to run our government, if we were to run our society from the Declaration of Independence, we wouldn't have a problem. Because it's not from not doing that we have the problem. The reason it is we have, in the Declaration of Independence, we declared ourselves free from England, and we really should have been declaring ourselves free from everything that had to do with England, which included British common law. The reason I'm saying that is because in the days of the development of the law for our land, and which now has the laws against marijuana, in this development of law, it really was a carry-through of British common law. I mean, I remember going in I think it was 1978, I actually saw the Magna Carta down in Washington, D.C. So, now, what is British common law? What is English common law? Well, English common law was formulated in the times of King Alfred the Great. And King Alfred the Great was he was the guy that incorporated Mosaic Code with the Ten Commandments, Christian principles, and Germanic law, like from the Saxons, into what later became British common law. And so we still carry that forward. But there's a clue here as to why things are wrong right now in our country. Because embedded in English common law is Mosaic law. Mosaic law, the Ten Commandments. But really it's more than that. It's more than the Ten Commandments, because the Ten Commandments, they're moral in some aspect. There's only two commandments that are really relative to the freedoms of Americans. And I'll tell you what that is thou shalt not kill and thou shalt not steal. Because the only violation of law that could come up in America under the Declaration of Independence would be to protect the freedom and the right to be free of each individual citizen as the primary function of government, to protect that right, protect that freedom, protect that equality. And, for the government to not protect it by basically formulating laws that are not based on those two principles of protection, this goes back in time. Don't steal and don't hurt. Don't beat up, don't kill, don't hurt, and don't steal. Those should have been the only two commandments. The reason common law contained the Mosaic law, and the reason Christianity right now, for example, under the Catholics, contain the Ten Commandments, contain the Old Testament, is because they missed something in the New Testament, actually, in the early days, in Acts, which is, everybody knows the story about the early stories about the apostles and such. In the Acts of the Apostles, in chapter 10, verse 15, there's a statement made there that really changes Christianity, but it wasn't recognized at the time. And what that statement is Peter is up on the roof of this guy's house. The guy is a tanner. And he has this vision. In the vision, he sees an angel come down. And this angel has got this big sheet. And on the sheet are all these animals that the Jews are not allowed to eat according to Mosaic law. And the angel says to Peter, kill and eat. So Peter basically says no, because it's against Mosaic law. And some people know about this, but most people don't know. Most people don't think about it. Even nobody thinks about it. But listen to this. The angel says to Peter 3 times. Now, 3 times. Remember, Peter denied Jesus 3 times. Peter was on the shore of Galilee, and Jesus asked him after he resurrected if he loved him 3 times. Peter saying, I do and stuff. So here is this angel talking to Peter. 3 times he says this statement in reference to Peter saying, no, it's against Mosaic law. The angel says, do not call profane what God has made holy. Do not call profane what God has made holy. I must say it 3 times. Do not call profane what God has made holy. It doesn't matter how that was interpreted at the time. The point is, what does it mean? Come on, let's use our brains. Peter says to the angel tells him to eat these pigs. Well, to have a sandwich, have a ham sandwich. Peter says no because of Moses. When the angel says to Peter, do not call profane what God has made holy, who is the angel really talking to? I want to tell you, my friend, listen to me very carefully. The angel is saying to Peter, reject Mosaic law. Reject Mosaic law completely. Reject the 10 Commandments. Why? Because the only 2 commandments that are valid on there in reference to American freedom are don't steal and don't kill, don't hurt each other. I'll just give you an example. What is relative to American freedom? What is the basis for saying thou shalt not commit adultery? You're saying that adultery is bad. You're saying whatever. The point is that the angel's saying to Peter, he's rejecting Mosaic code, Mosaic law, the Jew thinking. What's the Jew thinking? The Jew thinking is that God is a wonderful being to his chosen people. But God is also bad and wrathful and angry and hurtful towards people that are not chosen. Essentially that's what it is. So the Jew is claiming that God is capable of harming. So the Jew uses God as a threat. So the Jew's attitude is morality. Right, this is right and this is wrong. It's okay to do this, it's not okay to do that. It's not okay to commit adultery. Why not? Why isn't it okay to commit adultery? Why isn't it okay to have sex with another person aside from your husband or your wife? Only it's not okay because it says so in the 10 Commandments in the Bible and stuff. But on a law level, how could we have a law like that? How can we have a law telling, for example, Mormons that they can't have multiple wives? Americans are free to do as they please. But they're not because of Mosaic law incorporated into our law, which was incorporated into British common law. So, British common law, Peter, the original dude, he carries this truth with him, but he doesn't put it right. Why not? Well, what did Jesus call Peter? Jesus called Peter Satan. Well, what does that mean? It means that the only person that really knew what was going on back in that point in time was Jesus. All the other people didn't know. They didn't know what was happening. So when Peter's, going to tell Jesus, don't go down to Jerusalem because you might get hurt, and Jesus says, get behind me, Satan, he's nailing Satan in there, Satan with Peter. Think about it. Think about it. Peter was supposed to reject Mosaic law, not interpret it any other way. It was saying, God is saying, do not call profane. Because God makes everything holy, so, do not call profane what God has made holy. What is made by God that is not holy? It's unbelievable to not even understand that. God makes everything holy. All people and things are holy. This is a basic concept, but it's mismatched inside of contemporary Christianity because of the misleading of the papacy, of Peter. Because right now Peter is in Rome, and Peter rules 1,000,000,000 people under the name of Pope Benedict. And under that name, this Peter claims that if you commit a mortal sin, and I want to tell you something, the mortal sin isn't just killing somebody, it's committing adultery. For example, if you commit a mortal sin and you die in that state, this Peter guy is saying you go to hell. That's Satan saying that. That's Satan. That's what Jesus was saying about Peter. Because there is no hell. Life on earth is heaven or hell. It's what you make it. It's not understandable in the normal context of reality to even think about God or things like that, because this is it's a completely different subject. But as it applies to political things, it's important to understand the influence that this religious thing had on America. So back to the unalienable rights of man, which are stressed in the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson wrote that. Circumstances under which that was Washington and the army were fighting the British, and they wanted to get some aid, like from France. And the only way they could do that is to declare themselves an actual nation, an entity. So they sent back to the Congress and said, hey, let's whip up a declaration. So they took they took Jefferson, and they sent him home to write the document. And, according to my information, Jefferson actually said that one of his favorite things was sit on his back veranda, smoking hemp, and looking as far as his eye could see. So the man went and wrote on hemp paper the Declaration of Independence. What the heck was that about? Well, that's the basis of our reality politically and socially in America. This is what it's based on. The Constitution is not based on the Constitution is supposed to be based on the principles of the Declaration of Independence. And the only God we should have as Americans is the God of the Declaration of Independence, which is the God that gives us our life and endows us with our rights and puts no restriction on us. There is no 10 Commandments in the Declaration of Independence for a good reason, because the 10 Commandments are bullshit. When it comes down to human freedom, you can't meter human freedom. You can't say, here, we're the government, we're going to tell you what freedom is. No. Each person has the right to find that out for themselves. And as long as their behavior is harmless, which means that they're not hurting another citizen or stealing from another citizen, then their behavior is guaranteed and protected by God through the Declaration of Independence. And any individual or group of individuals that manipulates our society through malicious laws to circumvent that freedom is a traitor to American freedom. So the Constitution, whether or not it's a reflection of the Declaration of Independence, can only be seen in its ability to guarantee freedom. If it's not working to guarantee freedom of the individual, then it's bogus. And it's based on literally Mosaic law, which needs to be expunged from our society. Peter didn't do it. You and I have to do it as American citizens. Americanism is not Jewism. So our God is not the God of the Jew. Our God is the God that raised Jesus from the dead. And there's no one can tell us about that God other than this is a good God, because He's giving us our freedom without restriction. So, what is needed here? Well, I tell you something. I talked about it before, and really, truly, Christianity was infected with the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments has never been part of Christianity. And it was strictly, like I said before, it was Peter's, lack of intelligence, but facts are facts, the way things were and what was happening then, that he didn't understand when the angel said, "Do not call profane what God has made holy," that was a condemnation of Jewish thinking.